Okay, people, today let's take a probably not so quick look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Wave 3. And you know how it goes. I was gonna pick and choose this wave. I was definitely in for Cable and Emma. Jubilee and Sunspot were on the high probably list because of custom fodder and upgrade potential. Morph was below that on the maybe list because 1, I love the school uniform. 2, the alternate heads, especially Gyrick. This is most of the reason I got this. But then I figured I'd probably skip on Civilian Logan, but here we are. Because I love X-Men 97. In fact, when I got these in, I started watching season 1 again, just because of how good it is. It's like all my classic X-Men stories in fast forward. They go through them so fast that you enjoy it, but then you're also happy that they're moving on to the next thing. It's so... Now, don't get me wrong, I love the classic stories, the comics. In fact, I'm going through Outback right now, but they can get wordy. And if you're not careful, you'll get sucked into the side stories, which I love back in the day, and I still love the basketball games, the trips to the mall, the bar, just something to kind of distract from the main story for a minute. But sometimes you just want to sit down and have a short, quick nostalgia tug. You know what I mean? Just, and back to toys. It still hasn't been enough for me to go back to the 90s X-Men cartoon, the first few seasons, but I keep going back to 97. Plus, in case you didn't know it, I really like X-Men. Looking at the packages, it's what we're used to with X-Men 97. You have the bubble with the figure, and then the artwork for each character. Off to the side, there's Jubilee, there is Cable. I don't know how well this is gonna work because they don't want to stand up. And then Emma, and Morph off to the side, and then Logan. On the back, pretty promos of each character in a pose that kind of fits their personalities, although Cable not having guns on the back is a tragedy. Jubilee with the power effects, looking nice. Sunspot, and then each one has this checklist sort of thing. They each also have the warning for small parts, but it's also around on the front. In case you miss it, warning, choking hazard, small parts. Don't put the cartoon X-Men in your mouth. So let's start with the one I was gonna skip, Logan. And I'm gonna admit it, I don't hate it, but is that surprising anybody? It's me looking at X-Men figures, particularly a Logan figure, so I think I was predisposed to like it, even though I was trying my hardest not to. And why wouldn't I? I mean, it's very Logan-esque. It has those proportions. He's a little teapot, short and stout. But we have been seeing these legs for a few years now, which makes sense. They're Logan-sized. They're not able to use these for many other characters, if any at all. But they are showing their age, mostly in the pin department. Otherwise, there's a texture, there's some stitching, there's some wrinkles, which kind of doesn't mesh with the X-Men 97 aesthetic. The jacket is new, and it's pretty much the only thing new on this figure, but you can see that they went for that cartoon look. It's smoother, less wrinkles, it's got details just punched on top, the pockets, the edges, the ribs, the puffiness, but nothing overdone. Not like the pants. And I'm not calling the pants overdone in the sense that I don't like seeing texture. It's that it probably shouldn't be on an X-Men 97 figure. But it's Marvel Legends, so yeah, we should expect reuse at this point. These legs and this torso underneath with the shirt sculpt, the collar, the buttons, the pockets, those come from the Logan and Sabretooth 2-pack Logan. Well, like I said, we've seen the legs for years. Old Man Logan, Days of Future Past Logan, there was another old man from when he returned or something. A lot of Logans in pants. Also same feet, just a generic cowboy boot shape. Again, I love the details. It's just, then we get to the jacket and my brain kind of crosses wires. The head sculpt is reused from the first X-Men 97 Wolverine in full costume, but the paint apps have been refined. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. In fact, I like this head on this body. The eyes, the eyebrows, the hair. But on this one, there's a slight bit of shading around the eyes, and the eyebrows are a bit more defined. The The eyes themselves are painted to be slightly narrower, and then I like the skin tone better. This is pale, and again, just by itself, I would have never thought, oh, that's a little more pale, but then this one has a healthier look to it. Like he stepped right out of the cartoon. It looks fantastic. The claws are different though. Well, mine's a little crooked. It's got the middle one longer, and we didn't see that with the first Wolverine. It's not the same as the 2-pack either. Those are thicker this way, and it's a different hand sculpt. This Logan's hand is slightly bigger. I'm not saying we haven't seen it before, but I just got them with the Target exclusive Weapon X. Same hands, different skin tone, same claw, longer in the middle, and this one's crooked too. There we go. Easy enough to straighten out because the claws are removable. It's going to leave a hole, but you can, do whatever you want. Or no claws. For accessories, you can pull that out, and there is an alternate gesturing hand, and then there is a left fist, and that works into just hanging out and playing cards because he also comes with these. Again, we saw these with the 2-pack Logan, but he had a better, well, did he have a better hand for holding? These do not grip whatsoever. I guess you can go Gambit style, but nobody holds their cards like that. What is that, a straight flush? And then on the back, Xavier. For articulation, there is a hinge with a ball up on top. Full head of hair, high collar, doesn't go up very much, but can bury the chin. Some tilt. Scott. Gene. Pin coming out to the arm, rotates around, and then a hinge goes, up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow most of the way up. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, arcs back. Not bad crunch for that articulation setup. Tilt, tilt, rotation, and there's also rotation there. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks up, kicks back, kicks out, not great. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes up to almost, but I do notice that, like I said, these legs are showing their age. There is some looseness there. Rotation at the ankle, hinge goes there to there, front-facing pin for rocker. Since I had this out, I thought, hey, wait, there's a jacket on this figure. Can I take this? And yeah, because it's the same torso. And that completes his cowboy look, although the skin tones don't quite match up. And again, the extra detail to a comic book figure against the smoothness of a cartoon jacket, and then texture down here. I guess you can do this too for a jacketless X-Men 97 Logan, or just a Logan head. As much as that matches the artwork of the show, it still works as a comic book Logan. Next up, I'm going with Sunspot, because while there's some stuff to like, there's some things I'm not liking already. And I've been waiting a while for some good fodder to make more characters in that Xavier X-Men New Mutants training uniform, and that's exactly what this is. It's a nice teenage type male body, clean for the most part, boot cuffs, that's a biggie. That is a callback to classic X-Men or New Mutants or whatever. And then flared gloves. So that isn't just painted on the forearm. I love that. There's also this new belt. I mean, it's fairly plain. It's just a band going around the body. The definition of a belt to hold up his pants, his tights, and then there is the X buckle on front. At first I thought, man, X-Men 97 Sunspot getting all the latest tech when it comes to articulation in Marvel Legends. I know some people don't dig this lower crunch, but hey, that's what Legends does. Then I noticed the clearance at the hips to allow for movement up and around, and I thought, wait, yeah, he gets it, but who else? Oh, wait a second. I recognize the Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man body. And that's what this is. The torso, the articulation, the shoulders, the arms down to the glove, the crotch piece, the legs down to the boot cut. Just have, well, okay, again, the gloves, the boots, the belt, but then most noticeably, the head. It looks like Roberto. The lips are missing a tiny bit of paint right there, but for the most part, it's Sunspot. Then there's the colors. Hasbro, what is going on here? Why is this so pale? Just straight yellow. I know that if I got a few of these and tried to do classic New Mutants or something, that it would probably work. But put it next to X-Men 97 Wolverine in costume, I feel like this yellow should be this yellow. I don't want to paint over the yellow here, but I eventually will, probably. For accessories out of the package, there are 2 fists, and then there are 2 splayed out hands. But I'm only going to swap that on the left side because the right fist is needed for this flame effect. You can see the shape of the fist down in there. You just thread that in. Boom. Sunspot power. Okay, not quite. I know his body parts go pitch black, and then there's the Kirby crackle a little bit around it, but I guess this is as close as they could get. Although there is also this. I don't remember seeing this with anybody else. Is this reused? Because it's a flame ball, just with the translucent plastic, the orange moving up to yellow, but then there's this piece attached that's kind of an arc coming around, and you can see a couple of bubbles on it. Unfortunately, that does not attach to anything. You can do this and try to get them to hold it, but that is... of course you're gonna hold it. I tried to do things like this, hook this under to kind of secure it a bit more. You son of... Okay. There you go. He holds it. I would have loved an alternate head with some glowing eyes, just pitch black, maybe some effects around it. Articulation, if you have the Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man, you know the deal here. There's a ball with a hinge. Can look way up, can look way down. Oh, lots of tilt, left, right. Butterfly joint forward, back, pin coming out to the shoulder, hinge up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow. I said double elbow. Little stuck up top, but not much. All the way up. I think the glove top is an overlay. So there is rotation at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, crunches, arcs, tilt, tilt, rotation, and then a crunch down low. Gets it the rest of the way to there and back. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks way high, and then back, out. Not as good as some Spider-Mans. Swivel at the thigh along with double knee goes up. Oh, swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back way far. Forward a good amount. Front facing pin for rocker. For some swapping, you can put the comic book Sunspot's head on here for a little bit of that powered up look, but the neck is still skin. The costume isn't black. I gotta think that at some point they're gonna take this and just give it to us all in black with maybe some blue highlights in musculature and features, and then maybe a bubble effect attached somehow, kind of like the comic book one. For some older New Mutant action, can put Cannonball's head on there. And I know, well, did he wear the head thing? I think he was a lot more awkward looking without anything around, but that's a start. But I am working towards a Doug Ramsey, a Cypher, and Quasar's hair caught my eye when I was looking around. But I think the face may be, well, I don't know. It looks like a young Robert Redford. May be a little old for Doug. I've also been seeing some people use the Hasbro Dungeons & Dragons Hank. And while the socket isn't compatible, and it's also got a style to it, in fact, that may match up with X-Men 97, huh? But may make that work. Maybe. We'll see. Morph's up next, because I want to see how good some of this works on other things. All right, Morph is Morph. There's no denying that. It's definitely Morph. But it's almost like Hasbro reverted Morph to a teenager. We'll get to sizes here in a minute, but it is essentially the same height with the hair. I get it, but the shoulders are at the same point too. And slightly skinnier than Sunspot, who uses that Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man body. This is an all-new sculpt, so like Wolverine's jacket, they had a chance to smooth things over, make it more animation accurate. If this was a comic book figure, there would have been all kinds of wrinkles going across here, and up over the top, and at the elbows, and the puffiness of the sleeves. But here, nah, it's just pocket. Have the X logo, that is sculpted on. Same goes for the belt, which is that a separate piece? Torso is also fairly undetailed. It doesn't have the musculature that we're used to with Legends. Whoa. I know it's X-Men 97. It's supposed to be that way. I'm not griping. I'm just pointing it out. Just the general shape of the legs, almost tube-like, like the cartoon coming down to some bands at the thighs, some bands around the top of the boots. But I think more for me, it's the head. And it's Morph in theory, like if you described it to somebody, but it's a little detailed. And I know it's just eyes with shadow around it, mouth with some shadow, nose with some shadow. And I think that's where it gets me. You can see the thinness of a nose sticking out. And I know in the cartoon that sometimes when he turned, you could see kind of the bulge of a nose. But from here, that thinness, because any kind of shadow is cast, it gives it a bit of definition, makes it stand out, and it throws me off. I like the shadow around the eyes and the mouth, and yes, it's supposed to have this little bit of shadow on the side of the nose, but no nose. There's also some cheekbone right there that can't help but sticking out. But that's also the downfall of bringing a 2D art form into a 3D medium. Then again, without the sculpt, it would just be Rorschach's face, but with Morph's eyes and nose and mouth painted on there. Maybe I'll try to sand this down. Honestly, I don't hate it. It's kind of a stylized take on a stylized take of a comic that has stylized proportions. So it's kind of triple filtered, if not more. But it's slightly growing on me the more I sit here and look at it. But I still have my gripes. For accessories, out of the package, Morph has 2 kind of splayed out finger relaxed hands. Can replace those with 2 fists. And I'm thinking that those are reused sculpts because they're fists, just yellow. And then Morph can swap heads because he's a shape changer. And without just completely replacing the whole figure with somebody else to say, hey, he's now this person, there is some included alternate heads. This is supposed to be Morph like he was in the bar when they were looking for Roberto to bring him back to the school. But again, de-aged. In the cartoon, he looked adult. Here, this looks teenager. But you'll notice the neck is a different color. It stays the natural Morph skin tone. That is a separate piece. I guess it could have been a swap part, but instead we got another alternate head with Gyric. I said your Gyric, get on there. A little large, but it's not really meant to stay there. You know, it's supposed to be him mid-transformation or joking around and having a Gyric head, which would look funny on his body anyway. Unless it was an adult. While I've got the head off, there's a ball with a hinge going down. Bald head means lots of up, lots of down. Oh man, I just realized, bring me Harry Potter. Some tilt, left, right, just a pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates around, and then hinges up to there. You will notice there is a little bit of flex to the shoulder peg. That's because there's a pin coming down for some bicep swivel. Double elbow all the way up, has no problem. It's not even utilizing all the movement. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Crunchy abs, kick forward, kick back. Oh, there's a twist below the belt. I didn't even see that. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, kicks back, kicks out. Swivel at the thigh, hidden at those bands. Double knee, I'm gonna guess that, yeah, not a problem whatsoever. Boingo, boingo, boingo. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes way back, forward, front-facing pin for rocker. If you do want to take some of the other heads and put on there, is that going to work? Oh, it does pop on. It's got a slight looseness to it, but okay, yeah. Same as Gyric, other male heads are going to look big on this body. Speaking of Gyric, I've been kind of stockpiling Matt Murdock from Ollie's. Excellent suit body. So, taking that and putting that there. Easy peasy government agent for your X-Men or your Avengers or whoever else. I made this custom earlier this year, so you're welcome. Like I said, he can antagonize X-Men, X-Factor, Avengers. I'm okay with having 2 Gyrics in the display. Or if you have the Monster Force Secret Service figure, let's see if this will go on here. Because they are coming out with regular agent bodies. The head isn't quite deep enough, but the ball does fit. It may take just a little bit of dremeling. Give them a black suit body. And then there's the regular head from the cell shaded Morph from a few years ago. And again, Well, it's not terrible, but it is big. Oh, wait, one more morph. There is the Age of Apocalypse morph. Or, well, My Exiles morph. And that doesn't work either. Now that this has been on it, it works for this body. I got to get Jubilee out of the package because I'm already seeing some things I want to use in other places. All right, Jubilee. I expected to want to take parts off this and put it elsewhere, but then the more I dug into it, the more I realized there's not a lot of parts I can swap over because of the color scheme and the design itself. But look at that head. This is what I've been rocking on the Jim Lee shelf for years, and we saw variations of this, and then there was a cel-shaded version that I didn't get, that I think is a different sculpt, but compared to this, I mean, yes, very X-Men 97, but also very Jubilee. I forgot that the comic book Jubilee had half sleeves, and then she had the blue gloves below. This is full sleeves. Nothing wrong with that. Again, it's specifically X-Men 97, but not as custom foddery as I thought it would be. The original black suit Jubilee Build-A-Figure from a long time ago, that seems to be the same body, just with, yeah, same boots, just updated to pinless joints. Different sleeves, different upper torso. This one's more defined. And there is definitely a sheen difference. Almost like this is made out of a different material. I thought it was because it was a rubber overlay, but no, that's just shinier plastic than that. It is a new piece, I think. The zipper is sculpted on, running from here to here, and then the pull tab is up in this purple collar. At first I thought, oh, that's some shiny factory plastic. They should have toned that down a bit. But then, oh, wait, the rest isn't like that. It's just the jacket. So I'm okay with it. I'm also very happy that it's not very traffic coney. It does get up and out of the way. It's malleable. It's pliable. Those are also double and pinless. A little more detailed than we saw with other characters that are specifically X-Men 97 in this wave. The new parts that emulate the cartoon. But again, it's sleeves. It's flat enough here on the main body part. And then this collar popped up is excellent. I like it. Then again, the head, the hair, the glasses sculpted on, and perfect world, these would drop down over the eyes. But at the same time, this looks so great that I don't know if I'd change anything. Could have probably went with an alternate head with the glasses down, but as is, it's what I remember from the cartoon. And there's that shiny plastic for the goggles again, the same as the jacket itself. The light reflects off of it nicely to go along with the painted on shine. There's also a blue line across the top to show the frame of the glasses maybe, and then the red earrings. Oh, but the accessories. Out of the package, Jubilee has one splayed out hand, kind of that magic wielding hand we see a lot, and then left fist. There's also left splayed out hand and right gripping hand. Was it like Into the Spider-Verse Parker? But here is a cup she can hold while she's hanging out at the mall or something, the arcade. That's awesome. If it wasn't for the extras we're about to look at, this would probably be how I display her. But they had to go and include these, and these are fantastic. Jubilee hasn't gotten a lot of love in the effect department. You know, that's down the hall from Action Features at Hasbro. Let me put that in, and oh man, that's just... Put in two and it's even better. It just spruces her up so much. You can have running at the camera, kind of. Could probably be a bit more colorful. There's some yellow orbs inside, some blue sparkles flying out from purple effect. But at the same time, oh man. Yeah. Going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. That means she's got some up, some down, some nice tilt compared to some of the others. Left, right. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates around with a hinge that goes way up. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow, has no problem coming all the way up. Swivel at the wrist, hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso does, well, not a lot of forward, or maybe it was already forward a lot because there's arc back, some tilt, rotation. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, kicks back, kicks out. Best of the wave so far. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee goes quite a ways back. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, way far. Front facing pin for rocker. For a little swapping, I don't remember which Jubilee this is, but then you can pop this off. Maybe this was a Build-A-Figure? It needs to be raised up. It'd be about right here. Okay, it's not shabby. But you can't use the effects because of the blue. Could probably paint that. Yep, I may have to take one of these for this figure and leave one of these for this figure. Taking that and oh, what? Did neck balls used to be that tiny? Because that is not fitting. But if it did, why does that look big? It works fine there. It's got to be the collar. Putting this head back on, there are downfalls to separate classes. Just trying to keep them on there. Ugh, stay. I had a tough time choosing the next one, but I think I'm going with Emma. Or should I say, Bright White Queen. Some reuse of the Hellfire Club Emma Frost. It's got the same boots or shoes down at the bottom. I feel like it's the same basic legs, but updated to pinless, which means a slight tweak to the knee sculpt. Arms are now double pinless elbows. The old one had a sculpted glove top up on the bicep though. The new one, that cape is in the way. The new one has a bicep swivel, has a cut there. Speaking of that cape, it is the same sculpt and the same stiffness. There's not a lot of give to it. Because it's an animated series, it doesn't have the same wash. The Hellfire Club has some gray, brown down in the grooves. This one's just white. Oh, I'm a liar. There may be a slight blue to it. Then instead of the blue gem of the first, there's a red gem or clasp or whatever. Different corset though. The X-Men 97 one has big laces crisscrossing up and down. The Hellfire had smaller going up and then slightly open. Provocative. Same crotch piece where the legs attach to. And when I originally saw this, I thought, well, they didn't even put articulation in the mid-torso. But I should have remembered this, where it's open under here. Unfortunately, this is very stiff, so you essentially just get kind of a swivel at the bottom. And that carries over to the new one, but even worse because of the way this forms down over the hips. See how this one has some gap? Leaves some room for some movement. This one, not so much. Definitely a new head though, right out of the animation. She's judging you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Getting this close though, I realize, yeah, that choker is sculpted onto the upper torso. Over here, there's not one. So it may be new above the corset too. Yes, less cleavage, less muscle definition on the back. I mean, there's not a huge difference. There's just a bit more on the old one. I guess you don't need, oh, that's the wrong head. I guess you don't need the cape to be on there. You can run her without. In fact, that looks pretty good. What do we got going on with the heels? Was she... But then you had the weight of the cape above, and will that affect it? Is it going? Yes. It's got some back drag to it. So a little more adjustment. I feel like she'll stand on the shelf. Better than this one because, as we've established, as I've quickly learned over the past few months, pinless means more stable, more solid when it comes to the joints. This is just from standing on the shelf. She was actually leaning on something else beside her. It's just going to make me mad. I'm going to sit here, get madder and madder that this figure will not stand. For accessories out of the package, she has 2 fists, but she also has these effects. You know, taking over your mind. Cape does make it slightly difficult because it just gets in the way. It's also not going to allow, well, I guess you can go straight forward. Doo-doo, doo-doo. But the arm is not going to go any higher than that. I like these hands for Emma. They're just more telepathic. I was trying to say telepathic, and I failed miserably. Then there's an alternate head with some action hair. sweeping to the side and kind of in front of her face. And then she's smiling more, kind of that stuck up smile, you know? But I think I like the stoic look better with the hair straight up. That's just more my speed. Again, up at the neck, there is a hinge with a ball at the top. I'm going to leave the cape off for articulation just to show the full range. We already know that this gets in the way. So even with the hair hanging down, can look up, can look down. There is some tilt. Left, right. Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates around with a hinge that goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow, all the way up. Swivel at the wrist, hinge in and out. I think that is open from here to here, but because of the shape, it just holds it in place. There's not a lot of movement whatsoever. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, back, out, again, tied with Jubilee, I think. Swivel at the thigh, double knee, oh, no problem. Hinge at the ankle, goes forward, goes back. I know that looks oddball, this is gonna be even weirder. No forward facing pin because the foot goes straight down, so it's more of a rotation. Since this figure is pretty much going in the fodder bin now because of the weak knees, I would have no problem using this in its place. Even with the softer hair sculpt, it's not as defined, as detailed, but there's also no big deal about taking this and putting this over here and giving it a more realistic look. Or you could probably swap the corsets out. It would require some heat and some popping. I may have to give that a go. I also don't mind this contrast on the front of the gray, even though it does stand out. And then you'd still have the black stripes going down the middle, which I guess you could remove. Am I gonna do this? Not in this video, eventually though. And that leaves Cable for last. Who'd have thunk? And oh man, I knew there was a reason I saved him for last. This may be my favorite of the wave. In fact, I'm calling it. There's no maybe about it. This is my favorite of the wave. He's big, he's tough, he's Cable. I love the sculpt, I love the colors. This thing just pops and makes itself known on a shelf. Once again, it's X-Men 97, so there is a smoothness to everything. The base sculpt is there, but there's not extra textures, no extra details. Look at the silver arm. It's got some banding up here, but it's just metal. And then the padding going over the shoulders, and this here on front, and the extra padding around the neck, the blue, the torso with the stripes running, the belt, where in the comics, well, okay, there are pouches running all the way around, but it's just flaps, really. And then these pouches running around the bicep, just a simple 2 canisters belt buckle system. There is the pants with a few wrinkles here and there. More pouches running around the outside of the thighs, but again, just simple lines, simple triangles, simple circles. They do their job. There is a seam line running down the outside of the pants, but then we get to the boots, and it's just a boot with 3 straps on the front. The right arm, just a muscle, a little striation running down the middle. There's the glove, the green to match the straps coming up and over the shoulders, and again down to the boots. And then there's the head. And smooth, but striking. I love how the eyes are peering out. This one could have probably been lit up, but I also like this too, because there's also the scar, or well, I guess in this case, the black tattoo look to the right eye. The white hair, it does have a bit more sculpting to it than, say, Emma Frost, but I'm okay with that because it has to stand out. It's white. And he's got his communications on this side with the antenna sticking up, coming down in front of the mouth. Some silver, some greens, some reds, some blues. The color scheme is interesting. Again, the smoothness. I'm not saying it as a negative, but here, I don't mind it if I was to put it on a comic shelf because of how just unabashedly Cable this is. Shoulder pads are a separate piece. The big heavy peg in there. And then, oh, this is set up like the blue and yellow Cable, the gaming Cable. The straps come down and kind of hang, but then the bottom is also sculpted on there. So when you crunch, if it were just one strap coming down, it would punch out or get in the way. This makes it look continuous while giving you the full movement. That's odd to go so far back that it's green, because that is a separate piece laying on top of the torso. That's crazy. It's got the same thing on the back. Coming to here and then forward. It just looks powerful. It's just standing straight up and down. Looks like a tank. Is that a separate piece on? Yes, it is. Oh, it's a band that you can take off. Well, okay, it's sculpted to stay in that spot. So that's neat. Again, don't need paint, so it's nice and clean in between the silvers and the greens. I meant to rhyme that. Shut up. Nice skin tone. There's just a lot to like here. And it's not like I hated any of the previous figures, but this is above and beyond the rest of them. For accessories out of the package, there is a fist right hand and a holding the weight of a weapon left hand. Then, of course, there are trigger finger hands. And I'm going to do this one first. Swap it out because there's a big cable gun. Oh. Okay. Shoulder pads keep him from burying the stock in his shoulder, but it's not a bad firing position. Then you can also swap out the left hand or put it in the right hand because there's also this smaller pistol. And again, nice sculpt, got some red highlights in there. And to make it even more dynamic, it comes with 2 blast effects. The tried and true Iron Man blasts, but they do fit in the barrels. I'm thinking, yeah. Soldier of the future! For articulation, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck and a ball down at the bottom. But notice this blue collar coming around. There is some up, there is some, all the way down. Some nice tilt until you hit the sides, left, right. No butterfly joint, but look how tight the shoulder pad is down around that. But that also gets in the way of the pin from going up. It flexes a little so you can get some gun poses, but you're not going to go all the way around. There is a hinge that goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow goes up to about there. Swivel at the wrist, up and down on a trigger finger hand. That's the same on this hand. This hand has side to side. The fist has side to side. Ball joint mid-torso, crunches some, arcs back, tilt a lot. Rotation. Then there's also rotation below the belt. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, kicks back, kicks out. Not shabby for a big guy. Swivel at the thigh, hidden by the pouch strap. Double knee. Most of the way. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward. Front-facing pin for rocker. I have seen some people mention that this gun is very similar to the one this cable uses. And then I guess if you want, you can also let the comic book cable use the bigger gun. I replaced that head a long time ago with a casting cave head. But if you take this and here, oh, okay. That makes that body look even bigger, doesn't it? That's actually not bad. The gaming cable's head goes down too far, so need to either put a stop in there or don't push it all the way down. And that looks fantastic. That's a long way to bringing it to the comic shelf, along with maybe some dry brushing, some arm hair, punching the buttons, just spruce it up a little bit. But that head, that may be a winner. Does it work? No, the head's small, isn't it? I am really warming up to this. If I had done Jubilee second, I would have done them in order of size, from smallest to biggest. That was totally unintentional. Wolverine stands at about 5 3/4. Sunspot to the top of his head is about 6 1/4. Morph is about the same. Jubilee is 5 7/8. Emma is right at 6 1/2, and then Cable is right at 7. Using the same body puts the Logans at the same size. The costumed Wolverine is slightly shorter, but it's Wolverine sized. It fits in with other X-Men if you want to put it on the comic shelf. Sunspot is a little small next to the comic book Sunspot, and that even uses the old Bucky Cat body. And then the New Mutants. There's the yellow difference, and we definitely need an update to this body. Here's Morph with the Age of Apocalypse Morph, and the VCR boxed cell shaded Morph with the cell shading removed and a casting cave head. Jubilee lines up fairly well with older versions of herself, but it's the head size that throws things off a little bit, but also fixes things, I think. But I wouldn't hate this in a comic book display either. Good grief, that's as straight as I can get that one and still have it standing. But I can see why they didn't use parts from Astonishing Emma, but that does make her larger, like the Goblin Queen compared to Jean Grey. And I think it needs to meet somewhere in between. Jean could be slightly larger, these two could be slightly smaller. Because she's eye to eye with Magneto, and I know she's wearing heels, but she could be scaled down slightly. May not matter because I may swap some parts, do some things, and put her on the comic book shelf in the Hellfire Club with Sebastian Shaw. But then there's Cable with comic book versions of himself, or gamer versions, depending on what you think of this Cable. Not as tall as the tried and true 90s version, but filled out better. Again, the proportions just, oh, so good. So maybe like some of the others, I'll throw some paint, rough it up a bit, swap some parts, put it on my comic book shelf with X-Force or Deadpool. So at the end of the day, I add to the X-Men shelf, and that's a good day. There are some downfalls. Now, there's a lot to love here. As always, I'm gonna find the silver lining, but some of the gumminess in some of the joints, some of the looseness in places, and then a few color choices. Why doesn't this yellow match this yellow? There is a lot more good than bad. I still absolutely love Cable. I don't know if it's the design. Sure, there's a flatness, a plainness, an animation look to it, but that's this series. It's X-Men 97. It's based on a cartoon. I also really like Emma's presence. Of course, those feet are gonna give everybody trouble, but as a White Queen, yeah, okay. Jubilee's power effect is amazing. And that raincoat, the shininess, I didn't think I'd like at first, but I ended up liking it. And then the head. Sunspot's gonna have to get some repaint. Like I talked about, that yellow is just too bright. But as a school uniform, I may have to get more of these. Morph isn't my favorite iteration of this character, but it does, like I said, I'm a sucker for the blues and yellows when the yellows are good. Looking at you. Logan, like I keep harping on, I was gonna pass, but when it comes to civilian Logans, I can't help myself. I'm okay with getting this. I don't mind these fitting into a comic collection or into the X-Men 97 stack until I find places for that. Either or. I'm happy with most of these. Could be improved in places, but that's where we are with retail Marvel Legends at the moment. Bye!